We want to welcome you to our city commission meeting. We ask that you shut off and silence all cell phones. Meetings are televised every day on Channel 2 at 7 p.m. at midnight. At this time, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance followed by silent meditation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda, proclamation, Military America Saves Week.
How are you?
Proclamation for you. Whereas personal and household savings are fundamental to America's stability and vitality. And whereas adequate emergency savings, retirement funds, and safe debt income ratios are critical components of personal finance security, and personal financial security of service members is a crucial aspect of military readiness. Armed Forces Bank, NA, is a partner in the Military Saves a campaign and is committed to helping its customers, employees, and their family members, as well as all service members, take immediate financial action to build wealth, not debt. Now, therefore, I, Jermaine Wilson, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, hereby proclaim February 25th through March 22nd, 2019 as Military Saves Week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Good evening.
We just really want to thank everyone for your support. We really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thanks for the cookies.
So, if you've never had her cookies, they're okay.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, consideration of previous minutes. Minutes from January 22nd, 2019, regular meeting.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, this is the rezoning for the property most commonly referred to as the Immaculata.
No, we're talking about the minutes.
Minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. One ahead of you there.
At this time, I entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the minutes from the January 22, 2019 regular meeting.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Parsinger.
Aye.
Oh, Commissioner Griswold?
Aye.
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 Motion carried 5-0. Next item on the agenda, second consideration ordinance 8095, rezoning 600 Shawnee and 621 Seneca.
Now, Mr. Mayor and Commission, this is the second consideration for the project most commonly referred to as the Immaculata project, turning that building from its current vacant state into an exciting loft project. The second address, 621 Seneca, deals with some parking that's going to be added for the tenants of those buildings. Do we have somebody here to speak about the project today? We were going to try to get somebody, but it doesn't look like they're going to make it. We'll try to get a briefing for the mayor and commission and the public to give a little more information about this project, what it's going to look like. It's a group of people who have done the Ben Day project, the North Broadway project, the Carnegie project. So we really look forward to this, taking that building that's now sitting vacant and turning it into some market rate apartments with some fitness element and also some real exciting entrepreneurial maker space, as they call it.
Comments among the commissioners? This requires roll call. At this time, I begin.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Parsinger, Commissioner Griswold?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carried 5-0. Next item on the agenda, new business. This is open for any citizens who would like to come to the podium and speak on items.
Wants to say anything.
We have a county commissioner here that would like to speak.
Well, if you'd like to,
No.
we offer that to him.
If you would like to speak.
If not, any others.
No? Okay, yeah, you don't have to. If any citizens that would like to speak, if not, moving along. Next item on the agenda, general items, waiver of distance requirement for temporary liquor license.
City Clerk Carla Williamson will handle this item.
Mayor and Commissioner, this issue before the City Commission is to consider a waiver of the code requirement that prohibits alcoholic liquor from being sold or served from a location within 300 feet of any church, school, nursing home, library, or hospital, to allow the following temporary liquor permits to be issued for two different events being held, one located at 711 North 5th on Sunday, December 10th.
March 10th.
Oh, I'm sorry, March 10th, December, that's a long way away. And the second one at 306 North Broadway on June 15th for an annual event that the church has there also. The code does allow the governing body to grant a waiver for requests such as this, and this is before you today. Mr. Leo Fink from the church is here if you have any questions about the events or anything about the liquor permit. Otherwise, it would be up to the commission to either approve or deny the request.
Any questions among the commissioners? Would you like to speak? Go ahead, come up to the podium.
Might as well.
If you want to.
Get some advertisement out.
Yeah, it's an advertisement for it.
There you go. My name's Leo Fink. This is our 19th annual event for the St. Patrick's Day dinner, which will be March the 10th. And then the other event is our German Fest that we have. So both of our heritages, our two parishes, the one back at Conception is our Irish parish, and St. Joseph is our German parish. So we've been doing it for a long time, and it's what it does is just creates a little atmosphere for it. It's not, a big event other than just, doesn't really hardly make any money at all on it. It's just more just for the ambiance of having a beer, if you like it, and that. So we keep it under control.
Mr. Fink, in years past, didn't we do St. Cashmere's for the Glumpke dinner too, or
No,
not?
I'm not sure, not on this one. We've
I don't
always
think they
always
had-
managed these two. but
I don't think
we
they
will
had
not
beer
argue.
over there.
I don't know if they do
I don't
or
think
not.
they do.
Well, it's Polish, maybe they just have vodka or something.
Bring it up with them
Polish,
if you need to.
yeah.
Any other questions?
I just think, I don't know if you saw Armed Forces Bank was here earlier, and they brought us cookies. You'd think that maybe we'd see some of this corned beef and cabbage sample or some sauerbraten or something like that.
More than welcome to come up on that Sunday evening.
I think that's a bribe. We're talking about bribes here. I mean,
Yeah, is that?
We'll eat cookies and broths for the German.
yes.
It's always a good time.
Thank
We've
you.
always approved this.
Thank you for the consideration.
Yep,
Thank you, sir.
appreciate it. Hope you have a successful event. At this time, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we waive the distance requirement for temporary liquor license for Immaculata Conception Church for their St. Patrick's Day beef and cabbage dinner on March 10th, and St. Joseph's Church for their June 15th German Fest dinner and dance.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Griswold.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 5-0. Next item on the agenda,
Thank you.
consider sale of city-owned property, 6 in Dakota Street.
Our Assistant City Manager Taylor Tedder will handle this item.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commission. The city was approached in December by Ashley and Alex Eiseminger, and they're the owners of 522 Dakota Street. City-owned property is located directly west of their house, and they are interested in obtaining the .17 acre property from the city. This would allow them to perform upkeep on the parcel, which they've actually cleaned it up quite a bit already themselves. They'd like to extend their yard by building a 6-foot vinyl privacy fence around the property, and in addition to this, increasing the aesthetic appeal of the lot. This will return the property to the tax rolls. The property was actually given to the city in a property swap in 2009 with Habitat for Humanity. We previously had owned a lot on Shawnee Street. Staff doesn't see any operational conflicts with the sale of the property, and it would no longer require any resources from us to upkeep it. Mr. Alex Eiseminger is here tonight to answer any questions you might have for him about plans for it or anything of that nature.
Then one interesting thing to point out is that we're selling it for 10 times more than we purchased it. That's a heck of a return.
Right.
$10.
So we need to dig in a little bit deeper to see how much that is, but we in fact are making 10,000% on the sales price.
Any other comments among the commissioners? No.
No.
At this time, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the sale of the parcel located at 528 Dakota to the Eisemingers family for the amount of $10.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 Motion carried, 5-0. Next item on the agenda, public hearing to vacate a portion of Meadow Lane, Warren Middle School. Open public hearing. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Vote on the
Begin
motion.
voting with Commissioner Griswold.
Aye.
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 Motion carried, 5-0.
Our Public Works Director, Mike McDonald, will handle this item. We also have some guests from the school district. If you would also go ahead and come up and sit here, Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, this is a request from Leavenworth Unified School District to consolidate, to work with property they already own to consolidate it. They are working on a larger plat to incorporate it all into one lot. The property in question tonight is what would be known as Meadow Lane. I'm moving the mouse across it here. It is a vacant street, except for the first 150 foot or so was, street was constructed and houses built on it probably in the 70s. The property on both sides of the street, the south side is entirely owned by the school district. On the north side, the school district owns this large tract, and the house identified as 3105 is also a private ownership. The request is to vacate the street right away, whereas street is actually owned by the city. The process is usually to have a public hearing or to notify the adjoining property owners and have a public hearing to identify issues. As part of that, the staff contacts the public utilities that we are contractually working with, the phone company, the cable company, and so on, to ask if they have any facilities or interest in this. And ultimately, in this case, there is no utility interest with the exception of waterworks. We have a fire hydrant. I think it's shown here as the red dot at the end of the paved portion of Middle Lane. I think it's a little differently if you go out there and look at it. They have requested from the school district that they receive an easement from the school district allowing them to keep their water line and fire hydrant at this location. If this is approved by the commission, the school district has agreed to that. And what would normally happen if the street was vacated by the commission, half of the property would go to one side of the property owners and the other half would go to the other side. The school district has reached an agreement with the property owner at 3105 where at the end of the day the school district will ultimately end up owning that portion of the vacated right-of-way through a separate agreement that the city is not party to. The request this evening is for the City of Leavenworth City Commission to place an ordinance on first consideration to vacate the Meadow Lane, and that is the portion from the end of the unpaved, or the end of the paved section, thence west to New Lawrence Road. And staff has reviewed this, and typically we would only do this if there was a public purpose, but we make a favorable recommendation. And we believe the school district is planning to be a school district on the site for many years in the future, and believe at the staff level that it meets our expectations that the property would be used for public purpose. And we recommend to the City Commission that you approve this by placing it on first consideration.
Comments comments among the commissioners?
Looks like it's all trees. You do say Meadow Lane's not gonna go any farther, right?
That's correct. It would stay stopped here where the pavement ends at this time.
Okay.
Any comments from the public?
In Meadow Lane, that Meadow Lane was put in 40, 50 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it was been there quite a while when I moved here 30 years ago, so I'm guessing probably in the 70s, possibly early 80s.
Now, where was the fire hydrant again? Just
This is
here.
red dot, you see?
Okay, and that's gonna stay.
That's going to stay there, and
That doesn't cause school district any issues. Great.
Any comments, Commissioner Griswold?
No, I know I heard Mr. McDonald talk about reaching out to one of the homeowners. What about all the homeowners on Meadow Lane? Do they need to be contacted, or do they have a subdivision organization? That's the only question I have.
I don't believe there's a technical requirement that the city contacts any, other than the adjoining property owners. However, I believe the school district has contacted almost all of the property owners. Matt, is that
correct? Good evening, Mayor and Commission. As part of this process, we kind of went over what was required. I did make contact personally with all the homeowners adjacent to Meadow Lane, with exception of one who did contact our CFO at the main office and had a conversation with him. At this time, all the neighbors adjacent to Meadow Lane in its entirety up to, what is that cross street?
Grand, up to Grand?
Grand Avenue?
Have been very welcoming of this idea. Again, this is just an opportunity for us to kind of clean up our tracks and make it all one property and give us an opportunity to clean up a little bit of that tree line and utilize it for some of our student activities within educational purposes.
I'd just like to add that in addition to the school district having contacted the property owners, per state statute for a vacation like this, that we're required to notify them also. So letters were sent from the city notifying all the adjoining property owners of the hearing this evening also.
You hear that, Commissioner Griswold?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Any comments from the public?
No.
If not, a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 No, aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carried 5-0. Next item on the agenda, first consideration ordinance vacate a portion of Meadow Lane. This requires a consensus?
Yes.
Consensus to move forward? Yeah. All right. Next item on the agenda, mayor's appointment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I move to recommend the following appointment. This is pretty long. Airport Advisory Board, reappoint John Carroll and William Kidder to terms ending December the 31st, 2021. Convention and Tourism Committee, reappoint Tony Baker, Scott Brisgale, George Marchek, Michael Watson, and Dick Wright to terms ending January the 31st, 2022. Deer Management Advisory Committee, reappoint Dan Nicodemus, Tom Wells, Carla Williamson, Lloyd Yance to terms ending December 31st, 2021. Grow Leavenworth County, appoint Alejandro Amaya to an unexpired term ending May 31st, 2020. Parks and Community Activities Advisory Board, reappoint Michelle Kelly Kennan, Kara McDaniel, and John Richley to terms ending January 15, 2022. And Sisters City Advisory Board, reappoint John Richley to a term ending December 31st, 2021.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Griswold.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 5-0. Next consideration, consider appointment of Rick Schneider to the Leavenworth County Port Authority with the term expiring January 1, 2023.
Second.
Hold on.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, I just wanted to give you a quick process note on this. The county has agreed to follow the procedure that we've had in place for quite some time. So I notified the county administrator today, so once it is approved today, we'll submit that to the county in the morning. Then hopefully they will look favorably on this. Just briefly on Rick Schneider, Rick's been in the banking industry in the Leavenworth area since 1986. He has worked in all aspects of loan origination, underwriting, financial, consumer, commercial real estate loans, and branch management. His current title is Market President of Leavenworth and Lansing for the Exchange National Bank and Trust. He's also a former board member of LCDC, a Grow Leavenworth County Board, and is a well-respected business leader and development and banking expert in the county.
Pretty good. Entertain a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the appointment of Rick Schneider to the Leavenworth County Port Authority with the term expiring January 1st, 2023.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 5-0. Did you have a list of the vacancies of the boards that needs to be filled on you?
I do. Would you like to send that out to the rest of the commission? to
Yes,
hear
if
back
you
from?
can.
Okay.
Yeah, so-
There's still a number of vacancies that I
Yeah.
spoke to the
Okay.
mayor about, and he's asked me to send that to the commissioners to get some feedback. So I'll
Great.
send those out tomorrow morning.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Next item on the agenda, resolutions. Resolution B, 2213, Section 8, Management Assessment Program.
For that item, we have Pat Tooley, who's our Section 8 coordinator with the Leavenworth Housing Authority. Here, be great.
Good evening, Commission. It's a pretty step forward. This is just a report that we send to HUD. They pretty much ask us these questions and we answer them, and that's all it takes. I don't know that there's anything to, but if you guys have any questions, I know a lot of people had called asking about funding. Funding's good through April 31st or April 30th, so May 1st, as long as everything's settled in Congress, then we should be good.
Any other questions?
No, pretty straightforward.
Yeah. At this time, I entertain a motion.
I move we adopt the attached resolution submitting the CMAP certification to HUD.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Griswold.
Aye.
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 Motion carried, 5-0. Next item on the agenda, Resolution B 2214, set maximum amount for 2019 GO bonds.
Our city clerk, Carla Williamson, will handle this item.
Mayor and Commissioner, this issue before the City Commission is consider a resolution relating to the city's 2019 asphalt overlay general improvement bonds, just to set the maximum amount that is allowed. That doesn't mean we'll necessarily bond that whole amount, but that's just setting the amount. And that's set by Charter Ordinance 56 that authorizes the city to issue and sell bonds in the amount equal to 28% of the revenue produced for the tax year 1 year prior from the city's tax mill levy and the letter that is certified by the county clerk each year. So that amount, as I said, is $1,887,985. So that's the maximum amount.
Just to clarify, the plan, as we present to the commission and when we issue these, is the number will be much closer to 1.35 million. That's the plan that's been approved for 2019, but we have to set the maximum amount by resolution. Then when we issue the bonds, they'll be for the reduced amount.
This time I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution B 2214, setting the maximum amount for 2019 general obligation bonds at $1,887,985.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 Motion carried, 5-0. Next item on the agenda, consider bids for Riverfront Community Center flooring.
Steve Grant, the Director of Parks and Recreation, will handle this item.
Thank you, Paul. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. This is the bid for the replacement of the carpet in the Riverview room down at the community center, as well as the carpeting just outside there in the elevator lobby area. If you'll recall, at a study session back on January 15th, staff brought forth some other flooring options for the commission to consider. Namely, it's called luxury vinyl tile, or LVT. We brought samples, you'll recall, and that was staff's recommendation is to stay with carpet out in the entry area. However, brought it to the commission for discussion as a possible flooring option in the Riverview room itself. After much discussion that night, the commission unanimously voted to go ahead and go with the LVT. So from that point on, we've developed a bid package that and put it out at all the local media sites and publications, and on our website. The bid was publicized on January 19th, and we had a pre-bid meeting held at the community center on Tuesday, January 29th. We did have 2 vendors at that meeting. Image Flooring was present, as well as Dave Hart from Hart's Paint and Flooring. And then bids were opened on February 5th at 10 a.m. We did receive just 1 bid from Image Flooring. I did hear back from other vendors. Namely, I heard back from, we talked about at the study session, we'd had several vendors out as we were selecting our flooring, and we got very specific as to exactly what we wanted. Heard back from Nebraska Furniture Mart, indicating that they were not interested in supplying all of the items required in the bid, namely the bid bond. They were hesitant to put that up, so we did not receive a bid from them. Advanced Interiors was another flooring company. That's the company that did the flooring at the Heritage Center. We had them out several times looking at different types of flooring. We actually heard from him the morning of the bid, so I think the date got away from them a little bit. And then some of the others that had come out and given us some samples reviewed, they just chose not to bid. We had some representatives from Discount Carpets come out and do some measuring. I've never heard from them on a bid either. So it's always a little scary when you only get 1 bid. However, the Jennifer Talley with Image Flooring, they've been very responsive. I did call references on them. They've done, all the references came back very positive. One being here locally with the Riley Insurance Group, Mike Riley, did respond to me and said they were very happy with their work. With that, their bid came in the amount of $33,639.84. We have $30,000 budgeted in the 2019 CIP for this project. Came in a little bit higher than we anticipated, and that's due to, as we got into writing our bid specifications, sometimes find things that maybe you didn't anticipate. Part of that is replacing some of the baseboard on the west side of the entire room where it would go into the women's waiting room, and then also out in the lobby area.
Okay.
And then as well, once you put this flooring down, then at the base we'll want to put quarter round all the way around. So those are some of the things that got it up a little over the anticipated amount. However, we do have sufficient funds in the community center operating budget to cover those amounts. So with that, staff recommends the bid of Image Flooring in the amount of $33,639.84 to replace the Riverview room carpet with the LVT, and also the entryway with carpet, and the $3,639.84 over budget amount to come out of the community center budget.
I have a question.
Yes. Go ahead.
I just have been out to Hillcrest, and did they by any chance do the Hillcrest floors in there? They're redoing all of the floors with very similar to what you have. Do you know anything about that?
I do not.
Okay. It seemed to be really good. I mean, I'm interested in the flooring. It seemed to be really good product that they had out there, and that's why I wondered when you had this if it was the same. One thing that I noticed was it really showed the dirt badly, and that was a little bit darker than what I think. I took one of your samples home, and I think what you've got. Is this flooring darker than what the flooring in the wood flooring in the other rooms, or is it about the same level of
It's
color?
actually quite a bit lighter than
Is it
what's
really?
in- yeah,
Okay,
what's in the
good.
men's and
That's
women's
good.
waiting room.
It's hard to tell when you're looking at just one
Right.
piece, but I mean, all the people out there at Hillcrest have those duplexes. And, I mean, it's not bad inside the big building, but in the duplexes and fourplexes, it's like they're coming right from the outside and it's just terrible to keep clean, to try to keep clean.
Yeah,
So,
it's gonna be a different way of cleaning. It's just an adjustment for our maintenance. We'll trade in our vacuum cleaners for mops.
mops, yeah.
And then a lot of dust mopping, which is what will show up real quickly with that. This flooring, as we discussed before, it won't have the same sheen that you see on the natural hardwoods that are there. That's
Right.
just, it's just
Not
not,
shiny.
you don't put anything on top of this product. It comes naturally, completely water resistant, liquid resistant, stain resistant, all that. It comes with a 2-year labor warranty from the installer, and then the product itself has a 10-year warranty in heavy commercial use, which is ours is considered heavy commercial use, with an expected life expectancy over probably double that. So we're looking forward to it, and I think it's going to work out as a great option for us.
good. Is this company in Overland Park?
Lenexa.
Lenexa.
Yes.
Got any comments, Commissioner Griswold?
Mr. Mayor, this is Commissioner Griswold.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Grant, Mr. Dave Hart attended your initial meeting before the bids went out, but he ultimately decided not to submit a bid. Is that correct?
That's correct. He was at the pre-bid meeting.
Okay.
Do you have any idea why he didn't?
I do not. This is just purely speculation. We were extremely specific on the exact product that we wanted put down. As we talked about before, we looked at hundreds of samples, and we wanted to find the most durable product, the safest product, the slip resistant, the whole gamut. And so we were very specific in the bid pack and said, this is the product we want. And this is, and I think sometimes people only deal with certain manufacturers. I'm speculating, but I speculate that because, like I said, we met with several different vendors, and we had them come out with their different flooring samples, and then to not get bids from them, that's just purely speculation. But
All right. Thank you.
you bet.
There's no other comments. I'll entertain a motion.
I move we accept the bid from MH Flooring. Let me see my notes here. Lenexa, Kansas, in the amount not to exceed $33,639.84 for the Riverview Room flooring replacement at the community center.
Motion has been seconded. Again, voting with Commissioner Griswold.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 5-0. Next item on the agenda. Consider. Yeah, thank you, sir. Consider 2019 sanitary sewer inflow and infiltration design contract. Infiltration design
Our
contract.
Public Works Director, Mike McDonald, will handle this.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, this is a request from staff to approve a design contract from Ford Butler Associates for the 2019 sanitary sewer inflow and infiltration project. This is a project that addresses excess water that gets into the sanitary sewer system and ends up at the treatment plant to be treated. This is not stormwater that just ends up in the creek and down to the river. This is the other kind of water that we deal with. The city, being the oldest city in Kansas, has the oldest infrastructure in Kansas as well. And the sewer system has been identified as having excessive inflow and infiltration for many years. This creates a problem in 2 or 3 different ways that impact our operations. First of all, if the water gets to the treatment plant, it has to be treated, and it all has to meet the requirements of the state and the federal government. And if the water is so excessive that it overwhelms the pipelines or the treatment plant and does not get properly treated, it creates violations as well as a general mess. A long-term impact to the city's position that makes it worthwhile to spend money on removing inflow and infiltration is someday there will be a need for a new treatment plant as the regulations change. With the current administration in Washington, we think that day is further down the road than perhaps in previous administrations. But it's, rationally, you're likely to hear something about it within the next 10 years. And every gallon that you cannot remove from the sewer system has to get treated to the new, higher, more expensive treatment standard that we expect to happen at that time. In 2012, we did a study of citywide inflow and infiltration issues, and we identified that essentially 3 Mile Creek Drainage Basin, which is the older part of town, has the most problems. And we've kind of sized up our future expectations that we should address removing 30% of the excess water getting into the sanitary sewer system from the 3 Mile Creek Drainage Basin. And we started those projects in 2012 or 13, spending, I think, currently about $400,000 a year to do that. We did as part of that initial study, we measured all these with the flow monitors and the sewer lines during the rainstorms. And if we can get through this particular basin, we're going to go measure it again and see if we have been effective or what level of effectiveness we've achieved. We did quite a bit of work south and west of 10th Avenue and Spruce, and also I believe off of Broadway, the other direction in the last few years. We had originally anticipated that we would spend perhaps 2 years in this basin, but the more you kicked it, the more problems were uncovered, and ultimately this will be our 4th year in this basin, and we think after this one there'll be 2 more. Hopefully, Mike Hooper of our office has been looking at some of the videotapes and all. He's hoping, he thinks he sees that we might be getting into an area where we can rehabilitate it rather than replace it. But the nature of the lines that we're dealing with the last few years have been replacement. So this replacement of sewer lines in northeast Leavenworth, they're almost all in the alleys. You can see on the map on the overhead here that we've got the years that we've replaced each line and identified the proposed project for next year is primarily this section between Broadway and Ottawa, and a little piece running up parallel with Broadway at the north end. And in addition to that, there are several spot repairs and manhole replacements throughout the community that we're going to address this year, as well as just the pipelines that we have here. The projects in the alleys, the sewer lines are typically 15 to 17 feet deep. We have no clear idea as to how they built them originally. We're pretty sure that they were tunneled, because there's no evidence of it having been excavated and backfilled as we replace the sewer lines as we go along. Our predecessors were very tough individuals to do this. It's amazing. So that's a little background. This is a project that we've worked with our staff and with our design engineer the last couple of years to make sure we aren't overthinking it, and we're not overthinking it. And we would recommend that the City Commission approve the design contract with George Butler Associates, an amount not to exceed $40,085 for work to be done this year.
Any comments among the commissioners?
I would just want to perfectly, again, clarify that this doesn't have anything to do with the stormwater
Right.
program and projects that we've been talking about for the last 18 months. This is sanitary sewer, which is the wastewater that the city treats. Each of these, one thing Mike maybe touch on too, is each of these that are 15 to 17 feet under the alleys in northeast Leavenworth also have connections, private line connections, that a lot of times have deteriorated or collapsed. So we also run into considerable work reattaching those to the new system and then backfilling those. So
And then paving the alley.
And then paving the alley. So it ends up 15 to 17 feet down, replacing the pipe, making sure all the connections are sound, filling it, and then putting the alley back in place. So that's why the work is so slow. And again, this is sanitary sewer covered by sanitary sewer rates, the rates that you pay each month on your water bill for sanitary sewer. That comes and funds this project.
Commissioner Griswold?
Yeah, I have a question. I know this is for the design contract, and it's about $40K. But as part of our budgetary process in 2018, there's a few $100,000 that we'll use to actually do the work, to do the construction. Is that right, Mr. McDonald?
There's expectation of $400,000 to $500,000 of construction associated with this contract.
And I'm looking at page 46. I know, and I see 2019, and I know the work's very, very involved. But so will that project that you have scheduled for 2019 take up most of those funds that you just mentioned, or will you be able to go to some other spots that may need this I&I work?
This money will be consumed mostly in the project that we've identified in the map. There are several other locations that we are addressing, some failed manholes and other specific kind of point repair issues. There will not be a meaningfully large amount of money left over at the end of this year in our expectation.
Once the work is done on this quadrant, though, in 2019, will we be done with that particular quadrant?
No, sir. There'll be perhaps 1 to 2 years left in this particular basin.
Okay. Thank you.
There's no other comments. I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the design contract submitted by George Butler Associates for the 2019 sanitary sewer and project in an amount not to exceed $40,085.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 5-0. Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, consent agenda.
Okay, I move that we accept claims for January 19, 2019 through February 8, 2019 in the amount of $1,758,335.84. It's hard to see those big numbers. Net amount for payroll number 3 effective February 1, 2019 in the amount of $328,299.87. No police and fire pension.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Griswold.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 5-0. Discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Bowder.
I don't have anything this evening.
I have nothing.
I have nothing.
Commissioner Griswold.
No, I don't have anything this evening.
City Manager, Mr. Paul Craven. If not, motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.